Hi there, we're going to be talking today about how do we multiply polynomials together. Now we're just going to start out with multiplying monomials together. Now remember, those are just really polynomials that have one term. They're called monomials. So when we are multiplying them together, we're going to group the terms that have the like bases and then multiply. So for example here, if I'm doing 6y to the third times 3y to the fifth, what I mean by group is I'm going to do 6 times 3, because they're both constants, and then I'm going to do y to the third times y to the fifth, because they both have a base of y. So 6 times 3 is 18, and y to the third times y to the fifth, well, we're going to add those exponents, so that's going to be y to the 8th. So I'd get 18 y to the 8th when I multiply those together. Now of course they get, a tad more complicated as we go. But again, I did the same thing. 3 times 9, those are my constants. M times m squared, and n squared times n. So then when I multiply those together, I get 3 times 9, which is 27. M to the first times m to the second is m to the third. And n squared times n to the first is n to the third. So I get 27 m to the third, n to the third. And one more that's a little more fun for us here. Again, I got, let's see, 1/4 times negative 12. I got s squared times s, and I got t squared times t squared. So 1/4 times negative 12 is negative 3. S squared times s to the first times s to the first is going to be s to the fourth. And then t squared times t to the first times t squared is going to be t to the fifth. Okay? So that's how we multiply monomials together. We just group the terms with like bases and go from there. Now, how do we do a polynomial by a monomial? Now, to do this, we're going to use the distributive property. Okay, and this becomes pretty straightforward. We'll just start easy here with a constant. So I'm going to take the 4 and I'm going to multiply it by everything in the parentheses. So 4 times 3x squared is 12x squared. 4 times 4x is 16x. And 4 times negative 8 essentially is negative 32. Okay, so that would be my answer. Now let's say that we have a little more than a constant outside the parentheses. Okay, well I gotta go 6pq times 2p. I'm gonna write this one out because it's a little harder. And then I gotta do 6pq times q. Okay, so then here 6 times 2 is 12. P times p is p squared, and then I just got the q. Here 6p q times q is q squared. So that would be my answer, 12p squared q minus 6p q squared. And for the fun stuff, okay, again, I'm going to take what's outside and I'm going to multiply it by each part in there. So I got 1/2 x squared y times 6xy. And I got 1/2 x squared y times 8x squared y squared. Okay, so 1/2 times 6, 3. X squared times x, x to the third. Y times y, y squared. 1/2 times 8, 4. X squared times x squared, x to the fourth. Y times y squared, y to the third. Okay? So that's how I multiply a monomial times a polynomial. I distribute. Now the next thing, and this is probably the most used part of all of this, is multiplying a binomial by a binomial. Now this comes up all the time, especially when you get to algebra 2 and stuff like that. You're going to be factoring, and binomials times binomial is a very common thing. So I'm going to show you two ways to do this, and I prefer the second way, but you can kind of pick which way makes more sense to you. So don't get confused by the two ways. I'm just showing you two different ways. The first way is to use the distributive property twice. And what I mean by that is I'm going to take x here and I'm going to multiply it by x plus 2. And I'm also going to take the 3 and multiply it by x plus 2. Alright, I can do that. That's legal. It's like taking the x times 2 and then the 3 times x times 2. So when I do that, I get x squared plus 2x, and then when I distribute the 3, I get 3x plus 6. And then I of course combine like terms, so I get x squared plus 5x plus 6 as my answer. Let's look at another one here using the same method. So again, if I want to use the distributive property twice, I take the first one times my thing in parentheses, and the second one times the thing in parentheses. So, and then I distribute. So s times s is s squared minus 2s, and 4s minus 8. And then I combine my like terms. Negative 2 plus 4 is 2. So I get s squared plus 2s minus 8. Okay? Now, the much more common thing that you'll hear when talking about multiplying binomials is something called the FOIL method. Okay, and you'll hear this a lot. Like I said, people say, well, don't you know FOIL? Here's what the FOIL method means. It means multiply the first terms. That's what the F stands for. So if I was doing x plus 3 times x plus 2, first terms would be x and x. Multiply the outside terms. That's what the O stands for. So that would be the x and the 2. Those are the outside terms. So I'd get 2x. Then the inner terms, 3x, right? Inside terms. And the last terms, 3 times 2, I get 6. So therefore I end up with x squared plus 2x plus 3x plus 6. Combine like terms, I get x squared plus 5x plus 6. Now essentially it is the exact same thing as what I just showed you. Okay, and hopefully you can see that. It's just kind of an easy shortcut to remember. FOIL, first, outer, inner, last. Instead of having to rewrite, distribute twice, etc. It's essentially the exact same thing. Okay, so let's look at using FOIL, first, outer, inner, last. So here I have x minus 4 squared, which of course I'm going to write as x minus 4 times x minus 4, because that's what it is. Okay, so the first thing I gotta do is my first terms. So x times x, so I get x squared. Then I'm gonna do my outer terms. So negative 4 and x, so that's minus 4x. Then I'm gonna do my inner terms right here. Negative 4 and x, so that's minus 4x. And then my last terms, which is negative 4, so that's plus 16. So I'm going to end up with x squared minus 8x plus 16. Okay, first, outer, inner, last. FOIL. Let's look at one that's a little more fun here. Same thing. FOIL. First, 8m squared times m squared. That's going to be 8m to the fourth. Then I got outer. 8m squared times negative 3n. So that's going to be negative 24 m squared n. Okay, inner, got right here negative n and m squared, so it's going to be minus m squared n. And last, I got negative n and negative 3n, so that's going to be plus 3n squared. So then, when I combine my like terms in the middle, I got minus 25 m squared n and plus 3n squared. Okay? So multiplying binomials with FOIL, like I said, that's very common. It's something we want to make sure we know how to do. So please let me know if you have any questions about this stuff, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.